Hola, clase. Hoy estamos hablando sobre pronombres de objeto directo. In this chapter, we're going to be talking about direct and indirect object pronouns. So today we're going to go ahead and get started with direct object pronouns. And in order to do that, we need to start by answering the question, what is a direct object? A direct object is a noun that directly receives the action of the verb. So I have some examples here for you, and I'll point out the direct objects. Maria eats tacos for lunch. So in this sentence, we can see that tacos is our direct object because tacos is receiving the action of the verb, which is eats. So Maria eats what? She eats tacos. Tacos are the object that Maria eats. They bought a car this summer. So what did they buy? Well, they bought a car. So car is our direct object in this sentence. Last Friday, we all watched the game. What did we watch? The game. So game is our direct object in this sentence because it's receiving the action that we did last Friday. I am washing the table. So in this sentence, you can see that table is the direct object because that is receiving the action that I did. Now, like you saw in the previous slide, it's usually pretty easy to find the direct objects. But of course, when you have longer sentences and you have a lot more nouns in the sentence, sometimes it will be a little bit more difficult. So I've got a few steps here for you to follow whenever you're reading a sentence and looking for the direct object. So first, find the verb in the sentence. After that, ask who or what. And then the answer will be the direct object. So Maria visits her grandmother. Again, a pretty simple sentence here. So visits is our verb in this sentence. So we can ask who or what. So who does Maria visit or what does Maria visit? Because keep in mind that the direct object can be a thing or it can also be a person. So that's why we want to ask who or what. In this case, we're asking who. Who does Maria visit? Well, we see that the answer to that question is grandmother. So grandmother is our direct object in this sentence. All right, so it's not too hard when we're looking for the direct object in English, but of course we're going to be doing this in Spanish. So let's walk through the steps with these Spanish sentences. Brendan come una manzana para desayuno. So Brendan eats an apple for breakfast. We'll want to find our verb first. So we can see our verb is come here. And we'll ask the question, what or who does Brendan eat? And in this case, it would be una manzana, which would be our direct object. So Brendan eats what? He eats an apple. Mis compañeros y yo estudiamos español. My friends and I study Spanish. So let's look for the verb. We can see estudiamos is our verb. We can ask who or what. So what do we study? The answer is español. Yo siempre miro la televisión en la tarde. I always watch television in the evening. Look for the verb miro. We ask, what do I watch or who do I watch? La televisión is my direct object. So I watch the television in the afternoon. Now, I'm going to give you a hint here. If you are familiar with your prepositional phrases, so this is a prepositional phrase here because it's for breakfast. This is a prepositional phrase because it's in the evening. Whenever you have a prepositional phrase, your direct object cannot be located in the prepositional phrase. So you can pretty much just mark that out and know that your direct object isn't even in there. So you don't even need to get confused and think desayuno. Breakfast is your direct object because it's in a prepositional phrase and direct objects aren't located in there. All right. Number 4, Macy necesita comprar los frijoles. So Macy needs to buy beans. Our verb, actually we've got 2 verbs here that are working together in the sentence. Notice how we conjugate the first verb necesita to match Macy. And then the second verb, comprar, we just leave it alone, and we can just put them right beside each other. But then we still ask the same question, what does Macy need to buy? And in this case, it's los frijoles, so that's our direct object. You'll also notice that the direct object always comes after the verb. So it never comes before the verb. And again, that's a big help. So it's going to come at the end or kind of like the middle of your sentence, right between the subject and verb. And then if there's a prepositional phrase at the end, it would come right before that. Tú llenas el vaso con leche. So let's look for our verb. Llenas is our verb. What do you fill? You fill el vaso. And by the way, if you didn't know what el vaso means, if you see con and you remember that that means with, then you would know that this prepositional phrase with milk here can't be your direct object. So you would know that it's el vaso, the glass. Okay, so here's where our pronouns come in. A lot of times when we are talking about something, we get to the point when it becomes really repetitive to keep using our direct object over and over again. So once we've established what or who our direct object is, we can replace it with a pronoun. But we can't just replace it with any pronoun. We have to replace it with a direct object pronoun. So I have some examples here to show you where direct object pronouns come into play. So the first one, Maria eats tacos for lunch. So if we're talking about Maria eating tacos and we keep talking about her eating tacos, Maria eats tacos for lunch, Maria eats tacos for breakfast, Maria ate tacos yesterday. There's no reason to keep saying tacos over and over and over again because it becomes redundant. So we can replace tacos with a pronoun, with a direct object pronoun like them. So we can say Maria eats them for dinner too. And we'll know that tacos is what's being referred to. Another example, they bought a car this summer. Once we've established that we're talking about a car being bought, we can go ahead and say they bought it from a friend instead of saying they bought a car from a friend because we've already established what it is. Last Friday, we all watched the game. We watched it for 2 hours instead of saying we watched the game for 2 hours. Henry helps David with his homework. Henry helps him with math. So we can replace David with him instead of repeating David's name all the time. As you can see from the direct object pronouns above, it's really important to choose the correct pronoun because in that sentence, we can't say Maria eats they for dinner too, right? They is a subject pronoun, and we need to use direct object pronouns in this case. Otherwise, it will sound weird. And we also need to make sure that when we're picking from our direct object pronouns that we're picking the right one because in that last sentence, we wouldn't want to say Henry helps it with math, right? We need to say him in this case because we're talking about a person. We don't want to say Henry helps her with math. So selecting the correct direct object pronoun is really important. So what are the direct object pronouns in Spanish? Let's take a look. All right, so here are the direct object pronouns in Spanish. And as you can see, it's really important to pay attention to the number and gender of the direct objects or the direct object pronouns. Me would be me in English. Me is our direct object pronoun in English. Te would be you. Lo would be him or it. And la would be her or it. Nos would be us. Notice that nosotros is we. That is a subject pronoun. Nos is us, which is a direct object pronoun. Los would be them. And las would be them as well. It's just a group of girls. Los could also be you all, like ustedes. And same with las, it could be you all as well. So remember to choose the pronoun that best matches the original noun in gender and number. So you can use this chart to do that. All right, so now we're ready for our last step. So far, we've learned how to identify the direct object in the sentence, and we've also learned how to replace the direct object with the direct object pronoun so that we don't have to keep repeating the direct object. But now we need to figure out where to put the pronoun. So I've got two rules for you. Rule number 1 says, when there is one verb in a sentence, always place the pronoun in front of the verb. So let's go ahead and take two examples here, and we're going to get rid of the direct object. We're going to replace it with a direct object pronoun and rewrite the sentence. So the first one, Todd mira la tele por la tarde. So we need to find our direct object. We can find our verb. Todd watches the television in the evening. So Todd watches what? He watches la tele. We're going to get rid of our direct object, la tele. It is a singular feminine noun, so we're going to replace it with the direct object pronoun la. And as our verb states, since there's one verb in our sentence, we're going to place the pronoun in front of the verb. So we're going to put la right here. Todd la mira por la tarde. In English, this would say Todd watches it in the evening. Notice that in English, our direct object pronoun goes after the verb in this case, and in Spanish, it goes before. In the next sentence, ellos compraron un pastel para papá. So they bought a cake for father. We can find our verb, compraron. We ask, what did they buy? They bought un pastel. So un pastel is our direct object. We want to get rid of that direct object and replace it with a direct object pronoun. In this case, since this is a singular masculine noun, we're going to replace it with the direct object pronoun lo. And again, since we have one verb in our sentence, we're going to put our pronoun in front of the verb. So it ends up being ellos lo compraron para papá. They bought it for father. And here's rule number 2. When there are two verbs working together in a sentence, you can place the pronoun in front of the first verb, or you can attach the pronoun to the end of the second verb. So here you have a choice. If you have the sentence, Rogelio necesita comprar libros mañana, Rogelio needs to buy books tomorrow, you can choose where you want to put your pronoun. So first, let's start by finding the verb. Remember, there's two verbs in this sentence. So necesita comprar are your two verbs that are working together. The first verb gets conjugated, necesita. The second verb just gets left alone. So what does Rogelio need to buy? He needs to buy books. He needs to buy libros. So we're going to get rid of this direct object. And since it's masculine and plural, we're going to place it with los. We have a choice. We can put los before the two verbs, or we can put it after the two verbs. We can put it in the blank here before the first verb. Rogelio los necesita comprar mañana. Or we can do Rogelio necesita comprarlos, and we actually attach the los to the end of the second verb. Rogelio necesita comprarlos mañana. Either way, in English, these sentences say the same thing, which is Rogelio needs to buy them tomorrow. That's all we're going to cover today. We will do a lot more exercises and practice in class. Adios, amigos.